The man's eyes were gouged out, but the women around him kept coming. Some even came to care for him intentionally. What was so captivating about this man? His name is Housheng. In 1962, Housheng was born in a small town in Inner Mongolia. He was the second child in his family, with an older brother and a younger brother. His family was poor when he was young, and his father died early. His mother and brother had eye diseases. To make ends meet, Housheng left home to wander alone at a young age. At first, he could only beg around to survive. Later, he began to learn singing for money from a mentor. With his perseverance and good voice, Housheng finally didn't have to worry about starving. Later, by chance, he was taken in by a well-known rural band. The rural band's work was to perform at various events. Until the age of 27, he encountered a major turning point in his life. That year, while performing with the band in a village, he met a woman named San by chance. San had a lazy husband, and her family was very poor. To earn money, she begged Housheng to teach her some skills. After that, they called each other master and apprentice. As they spent more time together, they developed feelings and became intimate. When San husband found out, he was furious. To retaliate, he conspired with his two brothers to lure Housheng to their home. Then they hit him hard until he passed out. They tied him up and tortured him for a long time. Next, the three of them cruelly gouged out Housheng's eyes. They poured salt into the empty sockets of his eyes. The pain made Housheng faint instantly. Fearing he would die, they threw him onto the road. Fortunately, someone saved him and took him to the hospital. After more than 40 days in the hospital, Housheng just barely survived. However, he never saw again. Later, Housheng heard San husband was sentenced to 6 years. The other two perpetrators were out after 20 days, having paid to get out. After his eyes were gouged out, Housheng's life changed completely. For a long time, he was in deep despair. He felt surrounded by endless darkness. Every day he thought of ending his life. His brother, worried he'd commit suicide, stayed by his side day and night. He encouraged him to keep living every day. With his family's support, he finally stopped thinking about death every day. He gathered the courage to return to singing with the band. He even wrote a song about his harrowing experience, titled Gouged Eyes. As he repeatedly opened old wounds through song, he began to find peace and could smile while recounting the past. What Housheng never expected was, this tragic experience would later define him. Gouged Eyes became an instant hit. The emotions were genuine, as he sang from personal experience. The tale had intense drama. Each lyric struck a chord with the audience. The song was even made into a CD release. Many people never met him, but were familiar with his story. For Housheng, each performance required immense courage. He had to repeatedly reveal his scars to entertain the crowd. But over time, the anger and humiliation seemed to fade away with each song. Whether he really let go, only he knew in his heart. As Housheng grew more famous, his performance fees rose with it. Funeral organizers paid handsomely to have him sing Gouged Eyes at their events. In northern rural China at that time, showiness was crucial. Regardless of filial piety in life, posthumous honor was paramount. Funerals often were paradoxically joyous occasions, with audiences laughing merrily during performances meant to be solemn. As the most renowned performer, Housheng often headlined the event. To amuse the crowd, Housheng frequently joked about his blindness. After his show, Housheng and his team would visit the host's home. This was essentially to collect the performance fee. Despite being blind, Housheng was well-versed in social niceties from his years on the road. After some negotiations, the host eventually paid the agreed amount, provided Housheng sang a couple more hours. He agreed, and after some polite exchanges, he received his payment. His singing partner was named Luolanlan. Their lyrics often included vulgar and inappropriate jokes, but people enjoyed the straightforward humor. Housheng and Luolanlan had worked together for years. Even if they acted close on stage, offstage they were merely colleagues. Llewellyn was once married to an abusive man. She often suffered severe beatings. A kind-hearted man eventually saved her, and she followed him devotedly. However, the man was already married. Both women knew about each other, but they peacefully coexisted for years. The man divided his time between them. Housheng privately revealed that besides the man, Llewellyn had lovers in every town. A team member mentioned that, in their line of work, chastity was rare. Despite having a family, Housheng met various women across villages. Some women, touched by his plight, voluntarily cared for him. At nearly every stop, there was a woman willing to host him. After gaining fame and fortune, he regularly sent money home. When he was passing through, he'd visit his elderly mother. His mother, blind and deaf, took time to realize her second son had returned. Hearing his voice filled her with joy. Now she understood why her youngest daughter-in-law dressed her anew. Housheng asked if the money he sent was spent. Noticing her hesitance, he understood quickly. Every visit, he gave his sister-in-law 3,000 yuan, hoping she'd care for his mother well. He'd then give his mother more money, but once he left, his sister-in-law would take it back. Though angered, he grew accustomed to this over time. Being away for so long, he had to rely on her for his mother's care. After a brief visit, Housheng had to leave again. As he had an afternoon show, his mother tearfully walked him to the door, feeling her way out to say goodbye. In the empty courtyard, silence fell. Standing there, she was forlorn, tears streaming from her empty eye sockets. Housheng knew that with her frail age, every meeting might be the last. It could be a final farewell. After a brief sadness, he managed to put on a brave face for his performances. Among the band members, he commanded the highest fee. Audiences loved to hear Gouged Eyes. This was when Housheng would give it his all, singing the full story of his tragedy. Listeners were spellbound, their focus unbroken. Some tear up before the song ends. But Housheng shifts to humor, making them laugh through their tears. The crowd leaves with mixed emotions, carrying chairs home. Housheng, drenched in sweat, coughs throughout, hurrying to the next venue. Their figures fade into the night, under the bright moon hanging in the sky. Tomorrow's sun will rise again, and Housheng's story of Gouged Eyes will continue to spread. His story is undeniably one of legend and tragedy. Born into poverty, he endured much hardship, facing inhumane treatment and significant trauma. Still, he bravely shared his wounds and created a story that he sang to all. It takes unimaginable courage. Gouged Eyes is seen by some as a tale of life through adversity. Despite its low artistic merit and ethical controversies surrounding Housheng's actions, his ordeal is sympathetic, and his brave survival is admirable. Housheng's story ends here. What do you think of his journey? Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.